Hi, our presentation is about samurai in the medieval knights and their codes and what influenced them. First, the word samurai is derived from the Japanese word subarao, which translates in English to serve. During the Heian period of Japan, from 1794 to 1185, samurai served in the army of rich landowners, but later their social standing changes. In Japan in the 12th century, as nobles become richer through their trade, the nobles fund their own armies. Two major clans at the time were the Taira and the Minamoto. They both fought in the Genpei War on opposing sides, and after the Minamoto clan won, they established a military dictatorship known as the shogunate in Japan. After this, samurai became their own elite class in Japan. And here is an image of the Genpei War, and below that is a symbol of the Minamoto clan. First, Bushido Code translates to Way of the Warrior in English, and is what every samurai follows. The 7 virtues of Bushido are Gi for integrity, Rei for respect, Yu for heroic courage, Meio for honor, Jin for compassion, Makoto for honesty and sincerity, and Chu for duty and loyalty. When a samurai is defeated or feels dishonored, they can redeem themselves by committing suicide by seppuku, which is stabbing themselves in the stomach. In the story of the 47 Ronin, a lord of 47 samurai is betrayed and killed. After the samurai avenge their lord, all 47 of them commit seppuku for allowing their lord to be killed. This story illustrates how deeply devoted a samurai is to his lord. The origins of the Bushido Code come from Confucianism and Zen Buddhism. Where Bushido Code is different from Confucianism is that loyalty to a samurai's lord is the most important relationship in the 5 cardinal relationships, even above loyalty to parents. Also, the Junzi, or perfect gentleman, is what every samurai strives to be. Another influence of the Bushido Code is Zen Buddhism, which another slide will cover. And here's a picture of Confucius and a statue below that of the Kamakura Daibatsu in Kamakura, Japan. Buddhism was first brought to Japan in the 6th century and was later branched off into Zen Buddhism, which was used by samurai. The difference between Zen Buddhism and traditional Buddhism is that Zen Buddhism focuses more on the self and meditation rather than following rules and reading scriptures. It was most popular during the Tokugawa period through 1603 to 1868 and was used to prepare for battle. An example of one of the most famous samurai in Japanese history is Miyamoto Musashi. He was born in 1584 in the Mimasaka province of Japan, and after his parents died at the age of 10, he moved to a Zen Buddhist monastery where he trained. At 13, he had his first duel and killed a professional samurai with only a wooden sword, while the other samurai had a real katana. After he left the monastery at 16, he traveled around Japan, living very nomadically. However, there is record of him fighting elite samurai in the Yoshioka group and fought the leader with a wooden stick and still won. Later, he writes literature known as Gorin no Sho, which translates to the Book of 5 Rings, and Dokodo, which details his self-discipline during his nomadic lifestyle. Women were not treated equally under the samurai era and faced heavy patriarchy. Women were forced to be modest and had very little independence. Also, Confucianism and the relationship between husband and wife enforced the patriarchy. However, there were female samurai named Onabugesha and Onamusha, but they still did not have independence like all samurai because they had to strictly follow their lord's orders. First, the name to refer to female samurai is Onabugesha or Onamusha, and they were female warriors in Japan. Onabugesha fought on the battlefield alongside men, while Onamusha defended homes. An example of a famous Onabugesha was Tomo Gozen. Tomo Gozen was an elite Onabugesha, and information about her was spread through a story named Heike Monogatari. She fought in the Genpei War under the Minamoto clan and commanded 1,000 soldiers. The sword used by samurai was the katana, and it was inspired by the traditional Chinese sword that was brought over by trade. It is usually 40 inches long, and although katana were weapons, some were passed down to families and became treasured. Also, there were designs on the tsuba, or protective guards of swords. Some of these designs were of classical literature, folk tales, and historical events. Also, the tsuba could be designed with copper, silver, bronze, and brass. The most famous example of a katana is named the Hanjo Musumane. The katana was estimated to be made in the late 13th century and became a treasure of the Tokugawa dynasty. And here is an image of the Hanjo Musumane and an image of a customized tsuba.
All right, now we're on to the second half of the presentation, which is Knights of the Medieval Era. And Knights of the Medieval Era basically center around chivalry and the code of chivalry, which is basically expectations that every knight must follow. These are basically like be loyal to your legion, defend the church and defenseless people, and they have courage, military prowess, honor, and loyalty. Origins of the code of chivalry. Chivalry comes from the medieval Latin word calibaris, meaning horseman. And one thing that we must address is the Song of Roland, which is vitally important for understanding the code of chivalry and what it's all about. Basically, the Song of Roland was a poem of knights of the 8th century under Charlemagne and the Carolingian Empire. And specifically, it highlights the Battle of Roncesvalles Pass in 778. And basically, in this poem, the plot basically goes that Charlemagne is invading Spain, and he's fighting the Muslim king Marsil, and King Marsil offers peace, so Charlemagne sends Gallion, which is one of his officers, as a messenger to negotiate and tell Marsil that he would like to receive the peace treaty. And Gallion fears that he's going to be murdered by the enemy, and he accuses Roland, who is our main character, and of trying to get him killed. So Gallion tells the enemy a way to ambush Charlemagne's empire by the rear guard where Roland is and where Roland is defending, so we can try to get him killed. And obviously, it works very well, and the Carolingians are overwhelmed. And when Roland's men are getting slaughtered, his officers advise him to blow his horn and call for help, but Roland sees this as an act of cowardness and refuses. And that really shows his chivalry and bravery to his legion and his army. But eventually he does call for help, seeing all of his men getting slaughtered. And eventually Charlemagne comes and beats the Muslims. And the poem states the expectations for a knight of chivalry, which include many, but the three at the bottom: to fear God and maintain his church, to serve his legion lord in valor and faith, and protect the weak and defenseless, are some of the very many that every knight must follow. And it basically makes up the code of chivalry. And then we go on to chivalry with religion, and many knights, or most knights, practice Christianity. And in the Code of Chivalry, it states that you must practice a religion diligently because very much chivalry is interwoven with Christianity and Christian values. For instance, to fear God and maintain his church, that is a chivalry principle, and it's also a principle of Christianity, and also to keep your faith. It's a Christian principle, and it's also a chivalry principle. And yeah, we have the chivalry treatment of women, and it's kind of strange, the chivalry treatment of women. They obviously treat women with respect and honor, and they behave courteously by doing small gestures. And they're generous and merciful to everyone, especially women, and they typically try to impress women with bravery and great deeds. Another I would like to address is Edward the Black Prince of Woodstock. He was commander during the Hundred Years' War between England and France, and he was regarded one of the best knights ever because he was a military genius and won many battles. One battle that I would particularly like to highlight that shows the chivalry principles is the Battle of Poitiers in 1356. And in this battle, in this campaign, he is fighting against King John II of France. And he basically has many months of fighting with King John the Second. It starts on March 17th and ends on like September 19th or something. So many months of fighting, so much death, and Edward the Black Prince of Woodstock eventually beats him. And when he brings King John to the place where his camp is to negotiate terms, and he treats King John with tremendous respect, and he helps him like take off his armor, gives him food, gives him water, which is something very like unorthodox to do because you were big rivals. So the fact that King Edward the Black Prince of Woodstock shows him respect after so much death and fighting really shows the principles of chivalry. And here is the summary slide of basically the contrasting comparisons of the samurais and knights. So you can see that each bullet point corresponds to the other bullet point of samurais and knights. Samurai served wealthy landowners, and knights served legion and defenseless people. Samurais were loyal to their masters. Knights were loyal to the legion or the king. One contrast that they had was samurais practiced Zen Buddhism and Confucianism, and knights practiced Christianity mainly. And samurais were heavily patriarchal, and knights were patriarchal but treated women with honor and respect. And in terms of women being samurais or knights, there were some women samurai, but not many. And then there were no women knights until about the 12th century. And here is our works cited page.